That's going out live on YouTube as well. So I'll just wait for that to be confirmed. I think it's almost there. And Campbell, you guys you're doing IGCSE, aren't you?
Yeah. I don't actually teach it. Well, I haven't taught it for the last few years, but me and Tracy, we teach the BTEC level 3. So yeah, the other guys they were planning on joining today actually, but I think some of them are caught up at school. So
not only are we recording, but it's on YouTube as well. So it's perfect. Cool. So what I'll do here, I mean, I'll show you. I'll make sure I show the IGCSE stuff. Bear in mind as well that BTEC Sport Level 3 will be available from next month. So we start writing that next week. So you're right on the verge of having that as well. So the key things to stress here, Campbell, is that what we're logged in here as a teacher. Okay, so this is Dr. McGonigal. Imagine this is your account or Tracy's account, someone in the team. All right. She's got ExamSimulator in 3 places. Okay, she's got it here under assignments and exams. Now, if you bear in mind that we set exams for the kids, they're effectively in an assignment structure. But she also has exams in exam data, which I'll show you, and in assignment data, because of course, because we're setting the assignment, it comes through as assignment data. I'll show you that coming through when we've been through the basic premise of this. But if we go into assignments and exams, here we've got our normal assignment structures. I don't have any assignments set at the moment, and I can create, set videos, set quizzes, whatever. But I'm going to click over to exams, and it's in here now that we've got our area that we're interested in. So a couple of things of interest. First of all, anything that we've set is down here. This is the one we're actually going to go and answer in a second, actually. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to build an exam. The difference between build and set is that when you build an exam, you're selecting the questions from scratch. You're not writing the questions, but you're selecting the questions. Whereas with set an exam, here what you're doing is you're taking a previously built paper and simply assigning it to a group. Okay, so we'll go here first. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select my curriculum, which is PE. You probably wouldn't need to do that with yours. And I'm going to select IGCSE 9 to 1. And what I'm going to do here is, again, nothing's happened yet. I'll say an exam I showed, I'll say CG. That's you, by the way. And it starts to get interesting when you start to select your lessons. So I want stuff from here. I want stuff from here. I want stuff from here and here. That's what I've chosen as my curriculum. And you'll notice down here, all of these questions have populated down this right-hand side, okay? Now, I don't know exactly what, out of 24 lessons here, you'll probably find there's something like 300 questions that have just populated. So obviously you refine, for example, if I was to clear that and simply go, right, just show me that stuff, that's going to refine it down to there. But I'm going to select all, which means it's going to be all 69 lessons. So this is the whole thing. There's a lot of content there. Now, it may be that I want stuff on the elbow. So I want to show me stuff about the elbow. And I search in there. I've got a muscles question, identify the main agonist. And I'm going to go, bang, that's there. Now, just notice with that one, there's the marking scheme. There's the guidance. I can also look at the image that relates to this. This one here, I might go, right, I'm interested in this movement patterns one. Identify two movements that occur at the knee and elbow. I'm going to put that one in there. Again, the marking scheme is in there, flexion, extension, location and functions of bones. I like the idea of the 2 articulating bones at the elbow. I'll put that one in there. There we go. So I've got a nice run of 5 marks now. Now, what I might be interested in next, I mean, I could go and put some knee stuff in or hip or whatever, but what I might be interested in now is, right, show me some explain questions. So now I'm like, okay, I've got an explain question in here about the media. I realize I'm jumping between topics a little bit, but explain how media coverage can positively affect sport. There's our marking points. I can simply get that question and I can drag it into there. Or I could go, right, let's get this thing about fit in, explain how the fit principle can be applied to weight training. There's that, and I'm going to go, right, I want that one in there. Anyway, I build up this repertoire bit by bit by bit by bit. I'll just shove a bit of extra stuff in, that one in there, that one in there. You get the idea. I'm not really reading these. But I've now got 19 marks, and I'm going to say, right, to finish this off, I want some questions which are, let's give me some questions which are 4 markers. So here's all my 4-mark questions, and I'm going to choose this one, growth in leisure activities. Identify 4 factors that have caused the growth in leisure activities. Again, there's my marking points. And I go, right, that one in there, boom, and we're in. Now, once I've chosen my questions, I can bump these around. I can take this last question, put it first if I want to, put that in there, or move it back down to the bottom. Do whatever you want to do. That's completely up to you. Now, I'm happy with my paper now. I've got 23 marks. It's recommending about 27 minutes. I'll come back to that in a second. But you've now got 3 choices, and these are really important. So this one, Campbell, if you in your department, if you do a mock exam, say, in your department, and Mr. Guy is the only one that sees it before the day, Tracy can't see it, the other team members. Now, you probably don't do that, but if you wanted to, that's that button there. This one is how you publish it to Tracy and the guys, but it's not going to students yet. So this is like, here's a paper I made, team. Okay. This one, which is where we're going to go, it publishes it to the team, but now I can select my group, my course, exactly like an assignment. I want it to start today at 4 o'clock. And I want the kids to have this done by Monday morning at 9 o'clock. Maybe it's like a homework task. And obviously you can set it for a lesson time, whatever you want to do. It's mandatory. I've got an agreement with my group that we have a minimum exam score of 50%. If they don't achieve that, they redo it. Obviously, that's it. That's up to you. You can, by all means, set that at 0. It's set it at 100. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but it's up to you. This one's really important. Is this a practice exam? Now, if I set it to practice, this exam can be sat any amount of time between now and Monday morning. If I set it to assessed, it's recommending 27 minutes, but I'm going to be generous and give 30. Okay. And I'm going to say in here, answer all questions, focus on command terms. Obviously, whatever you want them to, if I can spell it, be good. Put whatever you want in there. That exam is now set and will open at exactly 4 o'clock this afternoon. It will give them between now and Monday morning to answer that paper. Crucially, when they log in, they get exactly 30 minutes, extra time if they're allocated it. But once they click in, it's assessed, so they're getting specifically that time. They can't click in for 10 minutes, leave it for half a day and come back for 20. They've got 30-minute window to do that. So in that way, you can set absolutely any range and number of exams that you want to. Now, the recommendation I would give to you is identify times where setting 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 mark questions becomes valuable. Consider times where you want to do an end of unit test, even a whole mock exam type experience. Please don't stop them using that. That remains a very important piece of technology. Our offer to you is to go, right, do you want to blend the benefits of the online writing with the necessity of that's the blend. That's your model might be different to mine, to Martha's sat next to me and so on, but that's the offer that you've got there. In IGCSE, I believe you've got about 520 exam questions in there. So it's a vast array. And the way we do that is we look at every exam question there's been in the past. We look at every mark scheme there's been in the past. And we basically look for trends in how things are written. So we're not just writing what's been, we're trying to project where could they go with these papers in the future. And a challenge that I've set myself is I want you to come back to me in the summer, well, it'll probably be next summer now, and say to me, James, you know that question you wrote, it was basically on the paper. And that's what we've tried to do. And every skill, all the assessment objectives are built into the questions as well. So in IGC, there's only AO1 and AO2, of course. So that is built in there. And yeah, it works that way. Any questions or thoughts on that, Campbell?
No, it just strikes me it's exceedingly kind of just intuitive. Yeah, seems very, very simple.
I think a bit of it's about familiarity. Remember as well that if you're just on exams a second, there's a little button here. I don't think many people have spotted this yet, but you see this little button here, ones you've already produced. So here, these are my like open exams, but in here, here's every paper I've ever made. Now I make hundreds because I do loads of demos. But for example, if this one here was one I was interested in, I could have a look at what I'd set. And I could simply go to the assignment that way. Or I could go, do you know what? I'm not happy with that one. I'm just going to delete it. And I get rid of it. And that's gone. So you've got a management environment here where you can delete papers, get rid of them.
Yeah.
You can search your papers, that sort of thing. So one of the things you might want to do is go, right, in our department, in mid-September, they're going to do this paper, end of September, this paper. So you could theoretically build up your whole kind of core assessment model through there. And all then you have to do is release them to the students.
Okay. Can you edit those ones that you've previously done?
Exactly that. Yeah. So if you go into here, let's say it was this one I was doing now. You can go in, you can edit it, and you can select whatever lessons you want, and you can start bringing whatever questions in. So you see, that's that one we just did. If I now wanted this question, that would go in. Now, really important, it's not a good idea to edit a paper which is currently open. Now, ours isn't yet open, so that's absolutely fine. But just bear that one in mind, because otherwise, if you added 10 more questions in, those kids are going to get 10 more questions, but still half an hour. So just bear that one in mind. But yeah, so you can do it that way. You can do whatever you want with it in that way.
Fantastic.
Now then, what I want to do here is I want to show you what Fleur receives off the back of this. Okay, so Fleur's our student, and our whole vision for the student was simplicity. Log in, write. Log in, write. That's all we want them to do. Okay, so if we go into here, I've now logged in as Fleur Delacour. Here she is. She's got the same environment here, assignments and exams. Now, that one we just set, if we go to exams here, that one we just set, it's not 4 o'clock yet, so that's not open to her yet. But this one here is one that I set up for her earlier, like a bit of a Blue Peter one we made earlier. Now, this happens to be from AQA, but it doesn't matter. It just happens to be different content. So if she goes into here, have a look what she gets. She gets the name of her paper, the instructions for the teacher. It tells her exam length, when she's got to have it finished by, and it warns her, you must leave yourself enough time to do this because it's an assessed paper. Now, this paper was set for 30 minutes, but notice that Fleur got 7.5 minutes extra because she's got 25% extra time. So that access arrangement is built into here. She goes in, she's got 9 questions, that amount of time. It's assessed. So we're saying to her, you must finish it in one go. Bang, she's in. Now, again, don't worry if some of this content isn't IGCSE. This is an AQA paper, but you get the idea. Now, a couple of familiarity things. The clock is ticking because we're assessed. It's a super simple. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't shout at them. It doesn't alarm them. It doesn't tell them they've got 2-minute warning or anything. All it does is at 50% time left, it will turn orange, and at 25% time left, it will turn red. So that's the only thing that does. Otherwise, it just counts down. Secondly, they can click through every question. Okay, so if they want to, they can go down to the 6 marker and answer this 6 marker first if they want to. Otherwise, they can come back to question 1 and have a go at this. I'm going to start writing something in here, Cam. Now, the thing I want you to pay attention to, you're probably going to watch me writing, but I want you to pay attention to this top corner. Okay, here we go. Skills. So every single edit the student makes saved every character. So we thought for a long time, like one of our big fears here was, what if a kid writes a big old essay, say, big 6-mark type answer, or some courses, A-level, 20-mark answer. What if they do that and their Wi-Fi goes down? What if they do that and the battery runs out? What if they do? Now, that's the point. If the letter goes in, it's saved. If the character goes in, saved every single time. They cannot lose their work. It's not possible. We've literally tried to break that, and you cannot do it. It's impossible to do it. The only thing to bear in mind on that one is if they can't type into it, it means they're not online. So imagine I came onto this page and then my Wi-Fi went down or something. Technically, they might still be able to see the page, but it will not allow input. And that's the only thing. But of course, they would have a warning. You've got your internet's gone, whatever. Then I go to this one, something to do with guidance. I think this is verbal guidance, so I'll put my answer in there, verbal guidance. Now, notice I've answered those 2 questions and they've gone yellow. Okay, this one, something to do with manual guidance, holding the jumper's hand to support them. So I'm not going to, obviously you don't need to watch me write a bunch of stuff, but I'm going to go down to this last 6 marker here. It's about blood doping. Blood doping is done by transfusions and can cause infection. Okay, now obviously I'd go further and write more stuff. But once I've answered all my questions, and notice, like, one of the things that's really important in here is that they can take these images. They can't click the images. It won't do anything, but they can expand the images. We wanted them to see the image large and then have their writing available to them. So A could be a fine skill like a golf putt. B could be a golf drive, something like that. And now I simply push that down this way. You see this 6 marker I started? If I end, in fact, I'll show you because I've got an answer for this in my notes. Let me just copy this out. Let's just imagine that, oh, didn't mean to do that. Let's just imagine, let me copy it again. Hang on. Let's just imagine that I've just written that whole answer in there, right, like that. Do you notice how this box just keeps getting bigger?
Yeah.
The whole idea is that they can see their whole answer. So we didn't want them like typing in a letterbox slot. We didn't want that like skinny vision of this. We wanted it just to open. Now, remember, they could technically do their essay on their phone. We don't recommend it, but even on their phone, it will expand to show them the whole thing. Okay. Now, I'm not a big fan of exam answers like this. I would not recommend that. But the point is they can do it like that if they have to.
Yeah.
Now then, let's imagine we've done the whole answer. We've done everything. Bang. That's my paper now submitted to my teacher for review. So going back to what I said before, for the student, log in and write. That's all you have to do. Now, if we just become the teacher again, what does this look like for the teacher? So the exam has been submitted by the student. What do I now have to do as the teacher? So the teacher goes to their exams. And by the way, this is a made earlier one. It's not the one I just wrote. But they go to their past exams and not marked. And up here, you'll see this one here. This is the one that's to mark here. This is the one we're interested in. So I click into it and it tells me Alan, Fred, and these guys didn't answer it. Mostly because I couldn't be bothered to put answers in for more than one student. But we've got Fleur here. She's answered this paper. So we can now mark this exam. So we go into this as the teacher and let's just familiarize first. So I've got the student's answer. I'll come back to this yellow stuff in a second. We've got the full description so we've got a description of the question, but we've got the full question hidden, which we can reveal. We've got the marking points on this right-hand side. If there's marking guidance, which this one hasn't got, that's there. Let's see if we can get one with marking guidance here. This one's got marking guidance in here. It's even got the level descriptors in there for this. This is a level question in this particular example. They're in there. I'll go back to question 1. We've also got all the students down the right-hand side on these 2 tabs. So I can see that everyone's got 0 out of 2 on this question, apart from Fleur, whose mark has not been processed yet. We've got every question down the left. We've got the tally, and I can also move between students. Okay, so I can go to question 9, and I can say, right, show me Alan, show me Hermione, show me Neville, show me Fleur. So you can mark vertically and horizontally. And finally, this is what we call sticky exam level feedback. So if you're marking question 1 for Fleur and you notice, Fleur, there is a typo on Q1, and you write something in there, later on when you're at the end of this, that is stuck to there. I also noticed on Q9 that, whatever that happens to be. So if you're marking horizontally, you're marking question 1 student by student by student, you can be adding comments as you go, or obviously you can leave it to the end if that's what you prefer. But this is where it gets exciting. You'll have noticed that 2 marking points have turned yellow. You'll have noticed that I've got 2 yellow blocks here, okay? That's because the software has pulled out that these are probably correct answers. So my job is to go to here, turn it green. Notice, green, green, 1 mark tallied here, 1 mark tallied here, and I've also got 1 mark tallied here, okay? This one, I click on this one. I like the word inherited, so I'm going to expand it to there, and to there, and to there, and to there. So I've made a unique selection here. Now I turn it green, it's linked to point 2. Now, really important in this, Campbell, because that is a unique phrase. In other words, your student has written it and you have marked it as correct. That has just been submitted to our machine to consideration as correct for everyone in the future. Okay, so if you can just accept what we highlight, but if you find something new, contract something, expand something, every time you put something unique in, our system learns from you as the teacher. So even on the next paper, that will be done. Even on the next student, if you click to the next student, they've written the same thing, it's correct. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So now, just to reassure you, we vet every single one. Okay. So that nobody can spam it. No one can put incorrect stuff in there. But notice 2 marks, 2 marks, 2 out of 25. Now I'm going to go through this one. Yep, completely correct. Bang, done. I'm actually going to make a comment. Could you have gone further here? I don't know why I've written that, but I'm going to put that in. It specifically relates to point 1. This one, I'm going to go right. On this one, I'm going to say, right. Notice on this one, Campbell, we've got 2 points from mark scheme point number 1. So I'm going to go yes, yes. But because they're both from number 1, it's 1 mark. These are both from number 2, 1 mark more. Okay, these ones are both is only from number 3. Hang on a second, just bear with me a second. There we go. Okay, and so on. This one, I go through to here. Now, again, we've got lots of potentially correct answers. In fact, that we think the whole thing is correct. So I can simply just turn them green. That's absolutely fine. But it could be that I want to, again, extend this to this whole phrase. Gross skill, large muscle groups such as the quadriceps. Really nice answer. I'm going to turn that green. Lovely. I'm going to make this timing and pacing. Lovely. Now we've got all 4 marks on that question. This one, I'm actually going to get rid of that one. You probably wouldn't, but let's just do it for fun. That one, and I'm going to select the whole thing, and from scratch I turn it, and I just manually make point 1. This one, I'm going to go, yeah, this one I'm just going to get rid of. That way, there's our 2 marks. Here, I'm going to expand that one, feeling of the skill. And I'm going to say from external sources, lovely. Yeah, happy with that, that's great. This one, I'm going to say happy with that, happy with that, happy with that. And finally, now this is what we call a leveled question AQA. This is not 1 tick for 1 mark. This is where we use a level descriptor. So you see here, everything's been highlighted what we believe the student has picked up. And again, I can simply go through now and credit these, but I could potentially go, right, you know what? This here, improvement in cardiovascular endurance, I think that is right. That is right. And I'm going to say that relates to point 9. So I'm going to manually put that one in. This one I'm going to say is correct. This one I'm going to say is correct. This one I'm going to say is correct. And because it's a level question, the only thing I have to do at the end is I manually input the mark. So if I believe that's 4 out of 6, I put 4 in. There's the mark. Bang. I can now release that exam to the student. So my job is now done. And at the moment, the hit rate for ExamSimulator is in the high 70%. Okay, so this is pretty much brand new. So of course it's ramping up, that machine is learning as we go at the moment. We believe that by September, it's going to be in the high 90s, 95 to 97% accuracy. Now, what that means in reality, Campbell, and I do not mean anything judgmental with this, but that means it's more accurate than you and me. Okay.
Yeah.
Tendency for it to miss is less than you and me.
So what happens when it's giving you or suggesting a particular mark there? If you click on the X instead of clicking obviously the tick, what happens there? Does it?
Oh, sure, sorry. Yeah, it simply turns it red. It does not remove a mark. It's right. In terms of value, it's neutral. I'll give you an example when you'd use that. So I should have showed there's also gray, which is just comment in there as well. So the red one, the way that works is the question is, which bone does the bicep insert onto? And the answer is the radius, but the student puts ulnar. You might want to turn that red because it's wrong. It wouldn't do a -1, but we're saying pay attention to the student because you've got this the wrong way around. If they wrote down tibula for tibia, wrong, and we want them to know it's wrong. It's for that purpose. It's ultimately a representation of feedback. Do something different, but don't worry, it does not remove anything. There's no negative mark.
Okay, so like you were referring to before, obviously we make quite a few errors. Is it possible to mark something that's been suggested as being right wrong?
It is. You could remove. Yeah, you can turn it red. That's fine, but that would only affect you. So, for example, let's say the question was which muscle does the bicep insert onto, and the student puts radius. Our software picks it up in the yellow. You turn it red. The outcome of that is no marks, and the student's going to come back to say, "Mr. Guy, what's going on?" That's the output. Okay. So it wouldn't like teach our machine that was the wrong answer. It doesn't work that way.
And so when you were selecting those different marks or those different points that to be accredited, does it automatically assign that to the various different points on the right hand side? So the different types of marks.
You have to choose which point it links to.
Okay, right.
So if you turn something new green, you have to say it's from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, at the moment, I am personally vetting every single entry. And there's a good reason for that. One is that we don't want anything that's wrong to go in there. And secondly, I'm personally learning how teachers are marking, common errors that students are making, how accurate is actual teacher marking at the moment. And that's fascinating. My broad feedback on that one is that teachers have a tendency to go too far on the benefit of the doubt. And it's quite interesting. We're giving in the practice, in the school environment, we're giving too many marks that in the exam they wouldn't get, would be my current interpretation. That doesn't mean it's every mark, but that's a theme we're seeing. A student will write something quite vague, well, let's give it to them. Whereas we would argue, be quite stringent, and and give good feedback. That's where the student will learn to improve their writing that way. Now, every teacher needs to make their own interpretation, and obviously at the moment it's interesting because teachers are looking for evidence as well of their students' performance. So it's kind of an interesting balance, that one.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now then,
that's exciting. I didn't appreciate just how I suppose it like anything, you've got to play around with it for a bit, but how slick it was.
Well, we've done the hard bit now, which is we've got prose-based writing working in there. That's the hardest thing to do. So now we can start bringing in new features. So 3 things we are definitely doing in that marking environment. So we want a button which says accept all credit. We want that button. So if you've got 4, 5, 6 yellow blocks there, we want you to hit one button, all 6 or 5 or whatever recognized. Now that would be really handy. Secondly, we want a button for accept or award no credit. So if there's nothing in there and you go through it and you're like, there's nothing there, we simply want a button. It's almost like highlighting it all and saying irrelevant. Like there's nothing of credit in there. And the third one, and I personally believe this is really powerful. That very first one was the very first thing I turned green was skill is learned. So we'd like you to turn that green, and the second you do that, you get a little pop-up which says 22 other students made the same or equivalent point. Award 22 times 1 mark now. Yes, bang, done. Now that would then reduce your work by 22 times. So now there's a negative. It means that you read your students' work less. So it's not perfect because there's a deficit there. Campbell spends less time reading his students' writing. That's ultimately not what we want. But what I would argue is that where they're doing very sort of factual things, I don't think you should be reading that at all. I think you should simply be getting the feedback from that. I think where you should now be enabled to spend more quality time doing their more sort of broadened writing. So they're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mark type responses. That's where you want to spend a little bit more time doing that. And we are willing now to confirm that we are going, when you set the exams, we are going to give you an option probably from September to set it to manual review or auto review. And if you set it to auto, ExamSimulator will do everything, including all the marking and the awarding of the feedback. So with that one, it will be a judgment call for the teacher. On a paper where they're doing lots of, let's say you do something like you've just taught them sports psychology guidance and feedback, say, and you want to set a homework which has got 5 or 6 exam questions there, 1, 2, 3 markers, and you set them that, and you want that to be automated. Perfect. Where you set them a mock exam and it's got 4s and 5s and 6s, and you really want to see how they're doing, we think you should set that to manual. But going back to what I said at the start, we do believe ExamSimulator is, and I'll say this in the most provocative way, we do believe that ExamSimulator is going to be more technically accurate than Campbell and James. So what we don't want is Campbell not to read his kids' writing. We still want you to know how Sophie and Graham write their answers, because that's good between the teacher and the student.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I want to show you what Fleur gets back, okay? So we just marked that paper. I'm back as the student now. Fleur, if she goes into exams, she finds out, oh, hey, look, I've got an exam that's finished, and it's this one here. Oh, right, my results here, 88%. Obviously, you didn't see me doing any tallying or doing percentages, but here's her results. It tells her, Fleur, you got this, you got this score. You okay?
Yeah, don't worry.
Okay. This was the comment that the teacher wrote. I'll come back to this button. It tells her now, this is what you need to know. Now, it's pretty clear what Fleur needs to do. Okay, she's done really well, apart from PEDS and guidance. Now, she could simply go, oh, I'm not very good at PEDS. Click into that. Let's go forward here. Hang on a second. Just bear with me a second. We go into here, and I just need someone else is using Fleur's account at the same time as me to do some other demo, which is why that happened. But the point is, she can go straight in to review that video, straight in to do that quiz. So she finds out, right, I'm weak on that thing. I'm weak on that lesson. Past exams, here we go. So I'm weak on this lesson. Hopefully it's going to let me in this time. I can go now and immediately re-watch that lesson.
In morals, obviously,
or I'm struggling on guidance. My guidance wasn't great. I'm going to go and do some practice quiz questions on guidance. And she's straight back into that. The whole point is that whatever she's weak on, she can go and address that. It also tells her exactly how she performs in the skills. So clearly I need to address discussing and evaluating, because I'm not as good at that. Now, the fact it's out of 6 and out of 1, you need to take these things into account. 1 out of 1 might not tell us everything we need to know about analyzing, but justifying has gone well, identifying was great, describing was great, but evaluating and especially discussing was not so great. And if she goes into here, it can teach her how to discuss.
Okay, I'm going to bring you down here. We're going to try and apply, because if you get caught, whilst enhancing performance,
and so on. So she can actually go and learn how to perform that skill. But of course, she also gets that question by question breakdown. So she knows exactly how that paper performed.
Yeah.
Now, final things, and I personally think this might be the most exciting bit, because it's the thing I always wanted as a teacher, right? The teacher also gets the breakdown of the analysis. So we're now in dashboard. Now, I'm pretty confident that if I take you to, you probably know this page quite well. If I take, where's GCSE gone? If I take you to here, and I take you to here, this, I'm going to show you AQA, could be for any course. I reckon you probably know this view, this data view. It's the tutorial completion, it's the quiz scores, it's all that stuff.
Yeah.
What you probably don't know yet is about exam data. So if I click to here, this is now going to show me my group's performance by every lesson on the course by exam performance. Okay. So let's just select one student, Fleur. And by the way, we could look at our pupil premium students' exam performance, our SEN students' exam performance, and so on. But I'm gonna select only Fleur. So here's Fleur. Here's every lesson on the course. And I'm going to say, right, here's the questions on pathway of air and exchange of gases. She has done 15 exam answers on this lesson. Her last answer was 100%, which is wonderful. Her average for timed and non-timed papers is 95% on this lesson. And her average on timed papers only is 95%. But crucially, I can click into any of her answers and it will take me specifically to that GACE exchange response that she gave. So I've got a permanent record of every answer she's ever given on that lesson. So if we, so in terms of spotting gaps, let's go to something that's weak. Structure of blood vessels, she's done really badly here. So I'll click into this one, say. Okay, now it's obvious why she did badly. This is a throwaway answer here. But you see here, she didn't pick up any of these marks. So it could be that you go into a mark scheme, you say, look, this kid never writes down the word diffusion or cellular wall or, whatever it happens to be in that particular lesson. You could literally say to the student, if GACE exchange comes up, you must write diffusion, you must write concentration gradient. And if they don't do that, there's nothing else you can do.
Yeah.
Like you've done your job at that point. It really is up to them. If you've said to them, write these words down, there's not much else that you can do to make them write them down. Practice, obviously. So there's that. Now, the other thing, and of course, I can look at every student here. So look at cardiac volumes, everyone but Fleur is kind of struggling. So I might find across my group, there's an issue there. If we got to paper 2 stuff, hey, we are flying on movement patterns. We're great at movement patterns, but Fred isn't, George isn't, Alan isn't. They need some questions. Okay, so that kind of thing. What's going on with Fleur and levers? That's a concern. So it'll show you these trends. Now, finally, if I go down to assignments, now remember, you set the exams for the students. Now, this is going to give a chronological view of her performance. So we go to assignments. I'm going to select taking exam assignments, and I'm going to select Fleur. Now we've got every exam that Fleur's ever been. Now, you've got to forgive Fleur. She's not a real person, so she tends to miss a few exams. But here, let's go to this one. She did this on the 10th of March. I can click into this. She got a great score. I can click into it. And I, as the teacher now, am looking at her percentage, her marks, my comment. I am looking at how she performed. Now, I did nothing to produce this as the teacher, nothing whatsoever. This has all been done for me. I know that she's worse in identifying than she is explaining. And again, that now informs me very significantly of what she might do next. And again, I can go question by question now.
Yeah, I like that. The fact that you can, it highlights.
And do you know what?
Yeah, specifically, what they're weak in.
Yeah, and you know one of the things that's really powerful here? I always dreamt of this folder, right? In my mind, I had this folder, and you've got something like the students in the tabs at the top, the lessons in the tabs down the side, and you go Fleur, levers, there's all her answers. There's no way a teacher's ever going to own that folder, but that's what that is. It shows you exactly the history of writing through every single episode, and that therefore the quality of the feedback and the diagnostics should be really, really significant. So so that's what we've built. We've got a few things we're still doing with it. The machine learning thing. Let me see if there's. I don't know whether to. I want to be a little bit cautious here because ultimately, let me just see what we've got as the most recent things. I want to be a little bit cautious here because I don't know whether it's a good idea to show you the whole thing. Let me see if I can find a good one. So I'll just quickly put on this. I'm not sure this will make complete sense, but if you this is the back end of the website, right? So you see this very top one here. A teacher has inputted that exercising with oxygen is equivalent to oxygen used, presence of oxygen, O2 used. Now, we agree that is now accepted in that question. This one increases the amount of heartbeats, increase in heart rate. I agree. Amount of blood leaving the heart every minute, volume blood pumped out is cardiac output. Agree. So we are vetting every single one of these machine learning phrases, all of them. We go through all of these. And if we don't agree, we turn it red, and that doesn't apply.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll come back to that one in a second. So that's how we do that. So every time a teacher does that, we're going through every single one of those and crediting or not crediting it. So once we credit it, it becomes population level. So if your student writes something and it's correct, it can become correct for everybody. And that's very powerful, because how many have we got using this? About 800 schools now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So across 800 schools we've got using this thing. That is very rapid growth. Yeah. So
yeah, that's great.
That's how we do it.
No, I should be. I know I've had a few messages actually since we've been on, but from the guys who should have been here. But well, obviously they're caught up at school. But yeah, I think they'll be excited to see this on Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah, and like I say, your IGCSE is full, everything. And
yeah.
I think from memory, because we finished it about 2 weeks ago, I think there's over 500 questions in there. So your range of content is gigantic. You'll find when you get to things like aerobic and anaerobic exercise, you're going to have like 12, 14 exam question variations there.
Mm.
So your capacity to set them questions, if you can, try and get in the habit of doing it almost lesson by lesson by lesson.
Okay.
Because then there's no way those kids aren't going to smash that exam come the next summer.
Yeah.
They're just going to be so familiar with what the requirements are. And then my only other guidance is be stringent in your marking. We're definitely seeing that as a theme, that there is, if I call it over generosity, I tell you what it actually is. There's this thing which is like, I know what they meant to say. I don't award that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of know what I've done this as a teacher many times. I know what they're getting at. No.
Yeah.
Is it wrong? And it doesn't have to be exact, but the meaning has to be the same. And that's it. And I should say as well, on the machine learning, Campbell, it's not matching phrases identically. Okay, so if the answer is increased stroke volume, they do not need to write increased stroke volume. If they wrote spelling variations, if they say stroke volume goes up a little bit, if they say an elevation of the volume of blood leaving the left ventricle per contractile phase, it will all get highlighted. So
yeah, that's good, because I know some of the applications we've used in the past are still used, but yeah, they complain because it obviously it marks it word for word, or yeah.
That's not the case. And the teacher always remains the executive. So as smart as our machine might be, Campbell can still say, yes, I'm adding it. No, I'm taking it away. It's still the teacher's decision. So unless you set it to auto, you will still remain, I have the authority. And even with the auto, you can go in and take it away. That's fine. Or add one. But it's really important to stress that nobody's trying to step on the toes of the teacher. For the student, the gains are obvious. More questions, more often, quicker feedback, better feedback, diagnostics. For the teacher, it's time saving, because all the other stuff is student related ultimately. So we really want to give you more time. And you know what's going to happen, Campbell. Teachers are not going to rest. They're going to do something else in that time. So make that a qualitative flourish on the marking. Make that a beautiful piece of feedback. Make that setting another follow-up paper. That's what I would hope might happen.
Yeah, no, that's exciting.
Cool.
Exciting. Yeah, really, really good. So no, can't wait to get cracking on that. So.
Cool, mate. Yeah, and listen, it's on. It's ready to go. Just get stuck in, basically. And
yeah, we will do.
Just let us know if there's anything that you spot, or if you've got a suggestion. We're very open to be guided by the teachers. So there might be something that would be great if we had. Please let us know what that thing is, because we've got a lot of room to move this forward. We've coded this from the base up as a very, very intelligent system. It's built on very solid foundation, so we can add to it very conveniently. So if you've got suggestions, let us know.
We will do. Yeah, I guess that's the beauty, isn't it? If you can adapt it as it as it progresses. So I'm sure there's lots of opinions. There will be.
Yeah, but it's all good stuff. We've enjoyed making that. I mean, it's a bit a labour of love, but I first sketched that out 6 years ago, so it's taken a while. And actually, you know, one of the nice things about it, COVID, for all of its horror, has brought attention to businesses like ours, and the fact that people have supported us means we've been able to build that. And hopefully that's a nice cycle. Hopefully that's the way business should be, or the world should. That's the way we see it. Like schools and teachers support us. We innovate and invest and hopefully support teachers and schools. And now you guys will help us refine it with the machine learning. I'm really proud of it. Those details for me are very, very positive. So yeah, so that's what we're trying to do.
All right. Well, thanks very much for it anyway, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, and say hello to the guys. Can you say hello to Tracy for me? It seems a long time since I went anywhere whatsoever. Never mind coming with you guys, but yeah, it's good to see you, mate.
Yeah, and you.
All right.
All the best to everyone. All right. Thanks for that.